we drove a little bit through Bardstown.
That's right.
Because that's a cute little city, and then drove back into town. And had dinner.
Yeah. We had dinner at shoot.
I'm trying to remember. This was just last weekend.
I know, right?
It shouldn't be this hard.
It was a month ago.
Yeah. Last week is such a long month.
You're listening to Premeditated Opinions because, yes, we thought about it, and then we said it anyway. I'm Pamela.
And I'm Josh, and we are two people who somehow share a brain and decided to weaponize our brains with microphones. Each week, we unpack anything, from politics and religion to carpool dread and everything in between.
You know, it would really help us a lot if you followed us on Instagram and YouTube. Giving us a like and a follow is probably the best thing your thumbs will do today.
We are not experts. We are just way too confident in our own opinions. With all that being said, let's get started. Well, welcome back to another episode of Premeditated Opinions, and we are delighted to have a special guest with us, who also happens to be my spouse. Please welcome Krista Miller, and I know you're applauding right now, as you should be. So Krista has the burden of being my spouse and has been burdened by that for the last 18 years. And it is remarkable that she has lasted that long, but she has, and she's here, and we're very grateful. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
We have her on for a couple of reasons today. This actually launches a segment that we've been talking about called People You Should Know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're launching straight into that today. And it's gonna look different depending on who our guest is. And, you know, some of them will be remote, some of them will be live in here with us. Some of them will join us for entire episodes like today, and then others will just come on for certain segments and things. So it's going to ebb and flow a little bit, but today you have the tremendous pleasure of meeting my spouse. And so one of the things we wanted to talk about is your art and your art evolution and career and all of that. So we made a big fuss when we started recording in this space about how your art is our backdrop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it still is for those of you watching on YouTube. You'll see that piece is still up, and we'll start rotating those pieces out as we can. But Krista is a visual artist and also does a lot of energy work and things, which we'll probably get into on a later episode. And a vocalist and a mom and a spouse and
a woman of many talents.
And is currently also employed by a fancy schmancy hair salon in Dallas. And so you have a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on.
And even as this podcast is recording, you're making sourdough.
I am making sourdough, which I'm going to have to turn. And
yeah. We'll take a break for that.
So I can go fold her over.
Yeah. So,
you fold in the cheese.
Yeah, you fold it. You fold it in.
You just fold it in.
Right. I don't know how to be more clear. But
God, I love that show.
It's great. So anyway, we wanted to kind of hear from you a little bit. We are fascinated by just your journey in the artistic world and all the various things that you've been a part of. And if we started from the beginning, like, where did you really kind of take a leap and start creating? I mean, was that more in school? Was it after school, like after high school or anything like that? Or where did all this start for you?
Yeah. So I've always been artistic in some form or fashion. So I grew up in a family who actually did love the arts. So I was surrounded by people who were really good at what they did, whether it was drawing or music or whatever. So I honestly, like, growing up, I drew a lot. I painted a lot. I was that kid who would just sit in a room and hole up and draw things on our walls. So, which my mom hated. In school, I always did some form of art. So I was definitely in art classes in high school and in college. My main focus was actually music. It wasn't art, because I thought music was just what I was going to do. Because that is something I also always did. And so art wasn't really what I focused on. But like I said, I did art classes. In college, I did charcoal mainly, and I did like some painting, but not a lot. But again, my main focus was music, so I wasn't ever really paying attention. I was paying attention, but I wasn't paying attention. Like it was,
It was more like a hobby for you than like a goal.
it was something I loved to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd say I was good at it. You know, I wasn't like great. I wasn't anything, you know, people are going to write home about. But my focus was always music. And honestly, it wasn't until later in life that art became something that was more prominent for me and something that I really started diving into. And a lot of that just became, well, it came from just life circumstances. So,
I mean, just for fun, like tell us a little bit about the musical background that you were pursuing and kind of where that started and how that evolved. You know, like where did that all begin?
So, as far as music is concerned, like I mean, I basically came out singing. I was always on a fireplace top or on top of my bed or somewhere singing some song, singing in the shower, like our daughter frequently does, and so loudly. So I was always involved in music. And then I did lots of music growing up in church. I did choir in school. In high school, I was in like 3 choirs or something like that. I was like in our top one that did all these UIL competitions. I was in a women's choir. I was in, my main one was actually a jazz ensemble. And that's why that was kind of where I formed my love for jazz music and all of that. But I also, I mean, I sang a ton of classical. So I'm classically trained, and I've trained in jazz vocal, as well. So, and I did that in both high school and in college. And so, and musical theater too. I can't forget that. That was a big part of my schooling. But yeah, I have always been around music. My dad was a DJ, growing up. And so we had vinyls coming out of our ears. I mean, we just had walls of them, and he had record players and all that. And so I just grew up around it. It was something I loved. And then in church, I was started as a vocalist and then kind of worked my way up, picked up guitar after a while. But then, I mean, I eventually wound around to becoming a worship leader, and did that for basically 20 plus years. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where the music thing all came from.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
We met basically in church environments playing music. And that was very foundational to sort of the earlier part of our relationship for sure. That was a huge part of you know, just our lives and our creative expression too. And so, you know, we had several forays into that world, and largely that's behind us at this point. But as far as visual art is concerned, so I'll tee up a little bit of the circumstances, and then I'll kind of have you jump in. But so I knew from the time that you and I got together that visual art was something you were passionate about and interested in. And I remember I have this vivid memory of seeing one of your sketchbooks from high school that you had found after we had moved in together. And I was like, holy crap, this is so good. Like, seriously. Yeah, I hope you do. I hope you have kept it. You should keep it. Like, there's stuff in there. I was like, holy smokes, this is awesome. And so I knew that there was underlying talent there, and my jealousy for that talent knows no bounds, because I say frequently that I'm very creative with my ears, but not my eyes. Like I am not good at the creative elements around, like taking a piece of paper and turning it from nothing into something is terrifying to me. I can turn something into something else. I'm good at that. Yeah. But turning nothing into something is very scary. And so I have.
And then I'm over here. You don't want to see me draw or hear me sing. Like, ain't nobody want to do any of that.
Somebody has to make sure that we actually get things done around here. And that's like, that is part of the baggage of being married to another creative, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not always just the most responsible people. Like we're like, oh, that sounds fun. Can we afford it? I don't know. Let's do it anyway. Like, it sounds fun. It doesn't matter. Like, what are these details around responsibility?
Meanwhile, I'm over here being rational and practical and logical, spreadsheeting, data, all the things.
Yeah. Well, and we haven't gotten to this point in our friendship yet, but there's going to come a day where I'm just going to be like, can you manage my money, please? like I've not done a great job of this. Like, just please handle this. Like, and this is a different conversation for a different day, but like Pamela's children have more in their investment accounts than I have in mine. Okay. That's all by itself. That's remarkable. That's incredible parenting. Incredible.
And that is in spite of getting my finance degree while all the banks were collapsing and not being able to become a financial advisor. So I just went the personnel route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a brilliant humble brag. But no, like, anyway, so we are two creatives that have been married a long time and managed to make it this far. But when I first started to engage with some of your more visual creative side, that was a little bit new for me, but really fun to discover.
Yeah.
And then we went through some hard stuff. Like, we were in a situation where we had been married about 7 years, 6 or 7 years, and we got serious at that point about trying to have children.
Yeah.
And it didn't come easily for
it
us. And there was a tremendous amount of hurt and all of that. And so why don't you walk us through a little bit of just what was going through your mind in that season, and then what drew you back towards visual expression in that season?
So we decided to start trying to have kids. And we were kind of like, okay, you know, when you first start trying to have kids, you're like, oh, it's going to be easy. It's going to be great, you know, and you just expect things to go a certain way because they just do for so many people.
Well, yeah, because we grow up thinking like, if you're not on birth control, you're going to get pregnant.
Right.
Like,
right.
And you're like, okay, as soon as I stop, like,
right.
This,
absolutely. Yeah.
Pulled the goalie.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, you know, I'm going to stop taking birth control, which I was already on that path. Like, cause that's a whole nother thing, but
girl, I get it.
Yeah. I hate birth control. Anyway. So I had gotten off, we started trying, and you know, a few months go by. We're like, oh, okay, this is fine. It's going to take time, whatever. And then we get to a year and I was like, okay, it's taking a little longer than I thought was going to be. And we get kind of to a year and a half, and I was like starting to have some mental struggles of, you know, like, should it be taking this long? Like, why is it taking this long? Like, my body's fine. I don't, you know.
Well, and you were actually, in that season of life, you were in incredible shape too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
how are you maintaining your body at that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I was doing yoga like every day of the week. I got super into yoga. And just, I don't know, I really was diving into just a healthy lifestyle because I knew that would be good for pregnancy. And
beneficial.
So, yeah. And I was just like, if I can maintain a healthy lifestyle, then that's just only going to benefit me, you know, once I get pregnant and like all of that. And, so we got to a year and a half. I was starting to struggle. Then we got to 2 years. And I was like, all right, like maybe I should start trying to figure out what's going on. And so that's when the doctor's visits kind of started ramping up a little bit more and all that. And, you know, all I got was, you're fine. Like, everything looks good. It's just going to happen when it happens. And I'm like, okay, great. It was the 3-year mark that things got dark. We hit that 3-year mark, and I went into some really deep, dark places. Everybody around me could get pregnant, no problem. And we're having kids. And I was, you know, all the questions of, when are you going to have kids? And like all this stuff, you know, and it just, you get to that place where you're like, I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to take tests anymore. I don't want to have to keep thinking about this. And it consumes you, you know? And so I got to this place where it started getting hard for me to sing. And we were deep in church and like all of this. And, you know, some of the things that you're singing about just hit you a certain way. And especially when, you're just in this really dark place of like wanting to have kids and can't for whatever reason. And
Well, I'm sure it's frustrating that like you don't have a reason.
right.
It's like everything
Yeah.
is lining up.
Yeah.
You're doing everything that you should be or
Right.
are supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
You're being told it's just going to take time, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, but there's some factor here that's missing
Right.
because if everyone else is probably not even in the same shape or
Mhm.
situation or whatever that I'm in, and this isn't happening,
Yeah.
there's something going on that I don't understand. I don't
Right.
know. Someone's not telling me. Like there's something's going on. And
Right.
I'm sure that's frustrating.
Oh yeah. So I got to this place. It was really hard for me just to be in and around music. And I was struggling with like what do I do creatively, and we were a part of a group at the time called Art House Dallas. And a couple of the people that helped run this group we were close to and kind of knew our story and what was going on and kind of all that. And as we kind of were involved in that, and we're surrounded by all different types of artists. And I kind of started gravitating a little bit towards visual art. And I didn't really know why, because I hadn't done really any visual art since school. Like and so I was just like, I don't know that that's something I want to do, and it kept nagging at me. Like it was like this weird, like, you need to go buy paints. You need to go get some paper and canvas or whatever and brushes. And like, you need to paint. And I ignored it for like a long time. Like I remember talking to you about it, like, and I was like, I don't know.
Well, and when you talked about it to me initially, I remember that conversation, and we actually were in a really unique living situation at the time too, because we had some dear friends that had bought a foreclosed home that they were doing some work on, and they had, like, we were actually living with them, not because we were in any sort of financial dire straits. We actually had a rental home in Fort Worth at the time that we had lived in before. And so we just had this opportunity to, cohabitate with some friends and save a bunch of money. And it did some wonderful things for us financially. But so we were around those friends all the time. And they were, especially one of them, it was very creative. And so we had sort of a good culture around us that was reinforcing a lot of these artistic things, including Art House Dallas.
Yeah.
And I remember when you came to me and started talking about wanting to pursue visual art, I didn't feel a need to really understand it. I was just kind of thinking, yes, by all means. Like, whatever is going to feed your soul right now while things are heavy and dark, because man, there, especially once we crossed over that 3-year mark, oh boy, in the 18 years that we've been married and the 20 years that we've been together, that year was probably the darkest part of our relationship. Like, I can't think of anything that comes close. We've had some hard seasons, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
And
I was just so angry.
Yeah.
I was just
and
angry
confused and
everybody and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you who know Krista, you know that anger is not her default state. Like
Absolutely not.
that is not where she lives.
Yeah.
And that would be way more normal coming from me. But I just remember thinking, tell me what to buy.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me what to go get, and we'll get it.
Yeah.
And then you just started exploring, and you explored early on. You actually explored a handful of different visual mediums. Sure. So what all was kind of in that initial exploration?
Oh, so I had talked to some friends who were a part of that Art House Dallas crew, and just was like, okay, I don't even, like, where do I start? Like, what do I even start painting, like, or drawing or whatever? I didn't even know what medium I wanted to use. I just was just like, I need to do something with my hands, because I couldn't do it with my voice. So I was like, they were, I went to the store. I went to, I don't know, whatever art store at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to grab some pencils. I'm going to grab paints. I'm going to grab paper. I'm going to grab canvases, and just have it, and just give in to whatever this feeling inside that I'm having that is saying to go get it. And so I did. And so I went and got a bunch of stuff. And I remember going home with all of it just in front of me and threw on some music that I could listen to and was just like, okay, here we go. And I was like, I remember staring at a blank paper and blank canvases for a long time because I didn't know what to do, and eventually after a couple of days of that, 2 or 3 days of that, I was just like, all right, I just got to put something down. Like I don't know. It's probably going to suck and it's not going to be great. And that's fine. It's not for anybody else. Cause at the time it wasn't for anybody else.
Yeah.
And so I did, I started off drawing and I was just like, I felt like I was too rusty and like, I couldn't grasp on anything that I had learned previously or anything like that. And so I was like, okay, paint. And so I went with the paints and figured out pretty quickly that like figurative was not my thing. I was like, it used to be, way back when, but right now, this is not what I need in this moment. Like, this is not what I need right now. And what I did need.
Just for the ladies and gentlemen who are uninitiated, how do you define figurative?
Drawing people, drawing things, objects, that just still work. That just was not what I wanted to do. I needed something that was more expressive. And so I decided that I was just going to throw paint on a canvas. And I started throwing paint on a canvas and realized.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
And figured out pretty quickly that it felt good.
Yeah.
And I was like, in those first initial moments, I was like, oh, like I don't know what is releasing, but something's releasing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a start. So I'm just going to keep heading in that direction. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And before I realized what was actually happening, because what was actually happening inside was me releasing anger and trauma and hurt and guilt and like all of these things that had been just building up inside of me that I didn't know what to do with. Mm-hmm. And I figured out quickly too that I can be angry and throw paint at a canvas and it wasn't going to talk back to me. Like it was going to hold all of that for me. Mm. And that's what I needed. Mm-hmm. I needed a space where I could just be all of these feelings and have a space that could hold it. Mm-hmm. And
without judgment.
Yeah.
Without needing a reason.
Right. And so I just continued to do that. And I did it for a while to where I was like, I kind of had all these canvases that were just a mess. Yeah. For me, it was just, this is a mess. And I would use brushes and I would use palette knives and different tools to just make a mess. Yeah. And there were times where I would cry doing it. Mm-hmm. And there were times where I would be happy and there was all these just different emotions that I would experience while doing that. Mm-hmm. And I would take pictures. I would take pictures of the work. And at the time, I think Instagram was around, but it wasn't a big thing.
It wasn't big yet. We were still on Facebook.
Yeah. And so I would post some of these pictures of just kind of what was happening and what I was doing. And I mean, people would comment on them. And, I had some friends that would reach out and be like, oh, I didn't know that, you painted or you were an artist and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I just never really talked about it. It's just something I never brought up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I loved art. I love going to museums. I love looking at art and talking about art. But for me to do it myself was just not something that I did. So people just didn't know.
It was kind of one of the label of artist.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah. And so I went through all of these different iterations of what direction do I want my art to go. Once I figured out I wanted to do paints, once I figured out I wanted to use acrylics and various tools, I was like, okay, maybe I should have this is Krista's art, but even that has evolved throughout the years. But, so I kind of had a style that I kind of started leaning into more, and I started posting it and people were like, oh, this is really cool. And can we buy this? And I was like, no. I was like, no, this is just for me. I don't plan on selling this. This is not something that I want other people to have. I didn't see what they were seeing. Yeah, I was always like, okay, well, why would anybody want to buy this? Yeah.
I think part of the block for you at the time was you weren't creating something that just felt good enough.
Right. And I wasn't painting for other people. I was painting for me. I was painting for all of the stuff, that was happening inside me. I wasn't.
It'd be like me trying to sell my journals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and the other component to this too that we encountered, both of us kind of in our own ways, we encountered a situation where, all of this pain and hurt and trauma and anger that you were bringing to these canvases was as a result of infertility, which wasn't a conversation that a lot of people around us were having.
No.
And to this day, I feel like it's still a conversation that a lot of people struggle to have. And so, the reality is there's a huge percentage of women who have the same exact struggle that you did,
Absolutely.
who are getting clean bills of health medically,
Absolutely.
who can't identify what this block is, and yet are struggling against this invisible opponent that they can't seem to outmaneuver.
Right.
And that's where we were. It was like, we were starting to get deeper into some of the testing and stuff like that towards the end of that timeline.
Yeah.
And it was also overwhelming. And just from the outside looking in, I remember seeing a lot of this stuff and thinking, thank God she has somewhere to apply all of this feeling and emotion. Thank God she has something that she can turn to, because, infertility as a husband is a really weird place to be, because you feel very connected to the situation and entirely helpless. And so, that you have to walk this fine line of like, how do I try and be encouraging and contribute to solutions and, point us the right direction when it comes to testing and medical things and all that. But at the same time, just sort of allowing things to happen. Like, you are not a person that forces anything. That's just not who you are as a human being. I've never known you to be someone who's going to be like, I'm going to grab this bull by the horns and force it into submission. That's just not how you're wired.
No.
You're wired much more like, what comes will come, and we're just going to embrace it when it does, and whatever that it is, we're going to deal with it and just sort of move forward. And so I was so grateful for that artistic expression at the time, because I felt like personally I was running out of things to offer that were comforting.
Yeah.
I mean, we were more than 3 years into this thing. All of my Rolodex of tricks was long gone. And so I was sort of watching all this develop, and I was watching your skills develop, which was really exciting, because when you really latched on to contemporary expressionism as a medium, like that, I felt like was where you really found your artistic voice.
Yeah.
And then, things started to just evolve in a really cool way.
So I got a question for you. When she started kind of figuring out how to let all of this out, what did you notice? What changed? Did you notice a change? What change did you notice?
So one of the things that Krista does in many areas of her life is, like, when she finds something that she's really passionate about, she really pours herself into it. And she's not really good at doing anything halfway. Like, she's not a half-asser at all. Like she's
Lucky.
whole ass or no ass. Yeah. It's pretty great. But she, the first thing I noticed was how hard she had latched on to just visual expression in general. And then beyond that, what I was noticing was her starting to want it. Like, she was wanting that time with those canvases. She was wanting that time, where she was going to throw on some music, and she kind of does this little hip dance thing sometimes when she's painting and stuff. So I was starting to see, like, her enjoy herself in different ways. But then there were certain days, I mean, without saying too much on this podcast to make those of you out there uncomfortable, there's points of the month that are clear indicators as to whether or not you are pregnant.
Yeah.
And so we would hit those points, and And then I would see a slightly different turn. I would
Mhm.
see her need to work out some emotions
Mhm.
and work out some anger and some
Mhm.
frustration and all of
Mhm.
that. But because of her being who she is, you would always circle back around to happiness, but you would take a little anger
Yeah.
detour,
Yeah.
for a few days. And so I was seeing a lot of some of that joy come back and her having a place where she could feel safe to bring all of that anger, because in your infinite kindness, I think one of the things you were trying to do for me was you were trying to not direct all of that emotion at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it wasn't, you weren't the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
But it could
and
be very easy though for you to take that out on him.
Oh, sure.
And like just, be just as frustrated.
Yeah.
Like it's not me, it's you.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
what are you doing? What else could you be doing? Like it'd be very
Yeah.
easy for you to fall into that, and
For
you
sure.
didn't. So
Yeah. Well, I got to, but I mean, I eventually I got to a place of just like, okay, well, this is where we are.
Acceptance.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I can't stop living. I can't stop my life. We
That
can't
was right
stop
around. That was
our
right around.
life.
Yeah, that was right around the 4-year mark.
Yeah. So yeah. So
Mm.
we hit 4 years. We got to 4 years. Still nothing.
And like no one is like no medical professional is giving you any.
No, so I had a wonderful, so my my gynecologist, who would have been my OBGYN and all that,
Mhm.
he was wonderful.
Mhm.
He knew our whole story. He knew that we wanted to do this as naturally as possible.
Okay.
Like we wanted to take it as far as we could before we started talking about
Next steps.
next steps. Yeah. And so he knew. He was like, we're gonna do all we can. We're gonna, all that, and we're gonna keep testing and just kind of see, keeping track of my hormones and like all this kind of stuff. And so he was just really wonderful. And honestly, and I mean, and yeah, could some of it have been just me being stubborn and just wanting to try and do this on our own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's
But
Yeah, there was more to it than that too, because we could have taken some next steps and tried to sort of scientifically push things forward, but also at the time we did not have health insurance,
oh no.
and even if we had, it wouldn't have mattered as it related to any sort of in vitro or,
Oh,
or,
yeah,
or
sure.
artificial insemination, any of that stuff. None of that's covered.
Mhm.
And so, and while we were pretty financially stable
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
we didn't have
That kind of money.
50 grand
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
to dump into.
Yeah.
And that was pricing from, 12, 13 years ago. Now,
Yeah.
now it's even more expensive. But we were stable. We were in good shape
Mhm.
financially, but we just didn't have the kind of resources to really
Mhm.
pump into a true like IVF situation or
Yeah.
anything like that. We just didn't have the cash.
Yeah.
And there was a whole conversation. I remember a conversation we had about like, okay, what level of debt are we willing to take on to
Mhm.
try and figure
Mhm.
this out?
Yeah.
And and if we go 100 grand in the hole, but we have no results, and that's
Right.
easy to do. with
Oh, I
IVF.
know,
Yeah.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
And
Yeah.
so I was in a situation where I was like, okay, like, yeah, we want this so bad, and at the same time, like, where are sort of the logical backstops here, where we don't want to just throw caution completely to the wind and dig ourselves into a hole that might not have any results.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that was a part of the conversation too. So I'm saying all that to say, I want to make sure and be clear, like, yeah, we wanted to have as natural of an experience as possible. And you did, and you were
Mhm.
driving some of that. And at the same time, there were real, like,
Yeah.
financial, real world limitations that we
Sure.
were up against because we did not have health insurance
Right.
at the time. And so I some of that decision I felt like was being made for us.
Yeah.
Like, there were just limits to what we could do.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to 4 years, got past 4 years.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were just living. Like, we were just doing what we wanted.
Mhm.
It was one of those things where it's like, you don't forget about it, but you put it aside and you just kind of move on,
Yeah.
And so around that time, people were still asking me about my art and like if I would sell and like all
Oh,
of this
okay.
stuff. And we had a couple of friends who saw a piece of mine who really, really wanted it. And they asked me like several times, turn them down. And then eventually I was like, okay, I will let you have it. And they were like, no, we want to pay you for this. Like, this is going to go in our house. You know, we're going to frame it. It's going to go in our bedroom. Like this is what they wanted.
What was the struggle for you in letting it go?
It was, I think it was just, I don't know. There's part of it that was, I didn't want to have people to pay for my stuff. Like,
I get that. No, I get that. I get that. Cause you're just
yeah.
you're like, I'm not an artist. Like, why would you pay me for this?
Right.
Like,
And that is,
I just threw this together out of rage.
Right. Yeah.
you know? And it's like, why? And then you're like, how do I charge for
right? That's the other part.
Bucks,
it's like, how am I supposed to charge for this? Yeah, it's like, what do I even ask my friends to pay me for? You know, this.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of all of that, one of your fundamental beliefs about society is that money shouldn't exist. So that's another part of this too. Like, you just kind of fundamentally hate money.
Oh, same.
Okay, well,
I'm the same way. Like, if again, just to parallel the situation, if someone for some reason really wanted my scribbled up journals. I mean, like, you're insane.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want, and then you want to pay me for these things? Like, you want to pay for my jumbled thoughts? Like, here's $20.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, all
Yeah.
right, you know.
Well, and so I talked to Josh. We had several conversations about it. Like, actually, I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, obviously people are seeing something here. They're obviously
Businessman Josh is kicking in.
Yeah.
I am who I am.
He's like, people are seeing something here. So if they want it, you should just let them buy it. Like, just let them buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So
for you, it wasn't so much like letting go of the piece as it was kind of coming to the realization that, you are an artist.
yeah.
And accepting the fact that,
Yeah.
like, I am making things that are authentic
Yeah.
and genuine and that people appreciate.
Yeah. And I eventually got to that place. I ended up selling, like, giving that piece to them that they purchased. And then we had a couple other friends that wanted a piece. And so I ended up selling it to them. And eventually I started coming around to the idea of, when people see my work, it means something to them. Something in that piece resonated with them on some level. Why should I keep that from them? Why should I keep them from being able to experience whatever they see on a daily basis? Why should I hold that back? And so I ended up coming around to that and got to a place where I started making pieces that were still for me, but also pieces that I was like, I can paint this and I don't have to hold on to it anymore. Like, it was almost like I realized that, like, I'm releasing these feelings and all of this pain and hurt and whatever. And I'm putting it down and I'm letting it go. And that's what it kind of came down to. And I was like, it's not mine anymore, And that was a part of the healing process. It was,
awesome.
it getting to a place of like, okay, it's done. It's there. It's not mine anymore. And then having somebody else go, oh, this like means something to me because of this, this, and this. And I'm like, awesome. Like, great. Like, I want you to have that, And then the struggle was, okay, how much do I charge for all this stuff? Because I'm not this artist who can charge whatever,
You're not an art dealer.
I can't just put, oh, this is $1,000, that's not where I was.
Yeah.
And so that I had that struggle for a little bit. But I ended up figuring it out just as a, entry level kind of artist and just still figuring stuff out. I eventually priced accordingly and all that. And so we get to this point where, I'm building up inventory, I'm selling one-off pieces like here and there and doing that. And then about 4.5 years, is when we found out that I was pregnant. And I had no idea. And that is, that was a whole story in itself.
Yeah, that's a story that'll consume a whole other
Yeah.
podcast episode on its own. It's beautiful. It's a really
Yeah.
great story, but
I
it's
ended
long.
I ended up
Maybe we'll
finding
do a
out
part
and-
2.
yeah, we should
Yeah.
totally do a part 2. Yeah.
I ended up finding out I was pregnant, and obviously, I mean, that was great news and not expected. And around that same time is when I started branching out into looking into doing like little art shows and like pop-ups. And I had had enough inventory by that point where I felt confident enough that I could do a show, even if it was a small one, and be able to, sell, a decent amount. I didn't think I was going to do great, but, I was like, I'm putting myself out there. We're just going to see how it goes. And I remember doing Arts Goggle.
Yeah, Arts Goggle in Fort Worth. That was your first real show.
That was my first weekend show. It was a one-day show, but it was a huge draw in Fort Worth, and still is. And I was able to get in. I remember we got a booth. Like, it was a big deal.
Well,
like,
and do you remember? And correct me if I'm wrong here, but we shared a booth space with a friend of ours, didn't we? Wasn't April Hawkins involved with that? And I don't think she'll mind me naming her on here.
She was involved with that. I can't remember to what degree, but yeah, I think
I
we
think
were
she
close
was,
or something like
no,
that.
I feel like we actually shared. I think she had a 10 by 20 space, but she only had a 10 by 10 tent. And she was like, if
Okay.
you want the other 10-foot space, you guys can have it. We didn't even have a tent.
I don't even.
And
yeah,
so
don't
I remember going and buying a canopy and like buying.
Oh
we
yeah,
were
we
like,
had to buy everything.
How do we hang this art up? Like,
Yeah.
and I was sort of fabricating
Oh, yeah.
PVC pipe and chicken wire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was zip tying the PVC pipe to the canopy structure, and
Yeah.
it did work.
It
though.
did, but
Yeah.
how far we've come.
Oh my god. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So
but yeah,
that's your
that
first
was
one.
that was like my first show, and I sold almost everything.
Wow.
I walked away from that show and sold almost everything.
How did that make you feel?
Oh my gosh, I was dumbfounded. I was like,
Yeah.
like all these people who I don't know want to talk to me about my art and actually want to buy it. Like,
How did it feel for you to
crazy.
let go of all of that?
It was at that point. I feel like I had gotten to a place where I was
ready
to do that, and I had also I was creating pieces that were not really like, I don't want to say for me, but they were just things that I thought looked pretty. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and they were just things that because I was in a whole different space, like
Yeah,
head-wise. And
yeah.
so it was nice to be able to be like, have like this collection of work and that people really enjoyed, and that I could be like, oh, my stuff is in like people's homes, and that's kind of cool.
I'm still saving up my pennies. I don't know where my favorite piece is. It's somewhere around here.
Oh, it's probably back there.
Okay.
But yeah, and so I did that show. It went really well. And then, I mean, that just kind of lit a fire into my butt. And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
here we go. We're doing this.
And I got to experience what it is to be art show husband, which
Oh, yeah.
is one of my favorite roles, actually, because I'm not actually responsible for much other than taking care of the artist. So,
and hauling stuff.
right, yeah, I'm the truck driver. I am the canopy putter upper. I am,
Yeah.
can you get me coffee and breakfast? Can you
Yeah.
stay in here while I go to the bathroom? Can you like grab me some lunch?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like, so you get into the art scene and the art world, and you start learning the underbelly and like all of this and how things work, and then all things you got to have, and like, I mean, it's a whole thing. Like, it is a whole thing to do, especially those who are doing like outdoor shows and 3-day shows and like all this stuff. And I didn't know anything about any of that,
yeah.
until we actually dove in, and then it was just a snowball from there. Like, I did that show, and then I had a couple of people that had come up to me in that show who asked if I'd be interested in being a part of other things, and so it's this whole network that starts to happen.
Yeah.
And so from there, oh my gosh, I did like these little pop-up events in like different stores. West Elm was one of the stores I was in.
Yeah, you had a whole thing with West Elm for a
Uh-huh.
while. That was pretty cool. I was bummed that went away.
Yeah, I did like these little painting workshops. Oh my gosh, there's so many different things. I started doing exhibits. and my art kept evolving.
Mhm.
And, I mean, had a baby and all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And then had another one a couple of years later.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, my art has definitely evolved to a point where it's very different from what I started off creating.
Mhm.
And I mean, and I'm very happy with where I'm at now. And I paint from a very different place now
Yeah.
than I did then.
Absolutely.
And so, and that, I mean, in art, it just does that. Like,
Yeah.
you don't stay in one place.
Exactly. It's meant to evolve.
It's meant to
So-
evolve. Yeah.
At what point did you finally accept and start calling yourself an artist?
So I've always kind of said that I'm a practicing artist.
Okay.
And like we said earlier, like being an artist can mean so many different things.
Yeah.
And I always kind of say like, yeah, I'm a practicing artist, like, because I don't feel like I ever stopped practicing. Like,
Okay.
I don't feel like I've arrived, like, I don't think you ever arrive. I think that you keep evolving, you keep growing, you keep learning, and your art reflects that. And I think just different things that have kind of happened to us in our life is reflected in my art. I mean, so I paint in collections now, whereas before I didn't really paint in collections. I just kind of one-off stuff. And a lot of artists do that,
Yeah.
and that's totally fine. It's what they want to do. But for me, I've learned that painting in collections kind of helps keep me more focused on what I'm painting. And, the pieces normally end up being pretty similar across the board in some way. But they all also have their own touch. And what I'm painting about within that larger subject, or that larger collection. So, yeah, I think that I don't know that I'll ever say like, oh, like I'm an artist, like I think a practicing artist is more fitting for me, and that it's probably different. I'm sure it's different for other people, but
The art show circuit is, it's definitely come back since COVID. There's new momentum.
oh, for sure.
And, we're working to do what we can to get you into some larger multi-day shows, including some ones that are out of town. I mean, we live in North Texas, and there is an art show scene here, and I'm grateful for that. There's actually a few really nice ones. But one of the things that we've really been challenging ourselves to do is try and get into some larger shows in other communities. And a lot of the really serious artists that we've gotten to know over the years are doing exactly that. So anyone who's listened to some previous episodes knows that we actually just spent a weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. And the whole reason that conversation got started is because Louisville is home to a really fantastic art show called the St. James
Art Fair. And I love that you say Louisville correctly.
Yeah. Well, I'm within striking distance of you.
Yep.
So, it's very dangerous.
Just like we don't say the W word, we say the B word.
Yeah, bourbon.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no such thing as something that's not bourbon.
Well, when I found out that Krista was doing art shows and we went to one of her art shows and I saw, her work and her booth and everything set up for the first time, a light bulb went off in me of like, this would be perfect. She would be perfect for the St. James Art Fair. And so I reached out and sent her the links and said, I think you should try. I used to volunteer with the St. James Art Fair. That was many, many years ago. Trying to find some connections within that space because I think that Krista would do amazing in that show.
You applied.
Yeah.
And because of its popularity and because of its size, unfortunately, you did not get in this time.
Right.
But we just, we become such great friends with Josh and Pamela, and they have spoken so highly of Louisville, and we really wanted to check out that community anyway. And so we just decided, hey, let's go to that art show.
Yeah.
Let's shake some hands and meet some folks and try and do a little bit of networking and just kind of see what's there and goof around in Louisville after the fact.
Which we absolutely did.
Which we absolutely did. And so we ended up booking some tickets on points and went out there and spent a whole day at the art fair. And I didn't even know this until we were leaving. But Josh said there was actually even a whole street we didn't walk down.
Yep.
And we spent all freaking day.
It was big.
Well, yeah, that thing
really
is
big.
huge.
Yeah.
So that was really cool all by itself, just to kind of walk around
Yeah.
and meet some people. We ran into some artists that we knew from other shows that you've done.
Yeah.
You ran into an artist whose work you already own some
Yeah.
of.
Oh yeah.
And we were-
I flipped out when I saw her there. I think I saw her booth and then looked at you and I was like, I'll be back.
I just remember turning around and you all were gone, and I was like, "Well,
I made
Yeah.
a beeline for her, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Yeah.
it was. I kind of fangirled. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it was really cool to run into these people that we knew, and we had a great time there. But then we spent a long weekend in Louisville, basically. So, so Josh and Pamela's kids came along because they were able to see some family and friends out there. Our kids stayed back in North Texas, but we went out and. Like we did all manner of things.
We had a lot of food.
Yeah, we
Great
really
food.
ate our way through Louisville, Kentucky.
it is a foodie city."
It is, but it's also a very artistic city. It's
Yeah.
quirky and fun in
Yep.
all the right ways. There were cute bookstores, and there were just
Shout out to Carmichael's.
yeah, absolutely. The first night we went there, so Krista and I love a divey bar.
Oh, yeah.
Especially a divey
Same.
bar with pool tables. And so our first night there, we just ended up goofing around.
We went to Spinelli's.
Oh, it's yeah.
Yeah,
went to
Spinelli's
Spinelli's.
for some
We got,
pizza.
yes, and then walked down Baxter Avenue and hit up O'Shea's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, went to. We did so much, like,
Oh man.
Yeah.
and then ended up at Outlook Inn and played pool, and
Yeah.
It's
oh my
great.
God, that was
fun.
so much fun.
It was,
And that
so
was
great.
just the first night.
right. That was just the day we landed.
Yep.
And then the day after that. So that was
Yeah.
Thursday night, I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure. And
Yep.
then Friday is when we actually did the art fair all day.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was
Yeah.
unusually warm.
It was.
And
it was
Louisville.
toasty. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like mid to high 80s, which is unusually warm for Louisville in
Mhm.
early October. I mean, I've had some early Octobers. It's freezing,
Yeah.
like bitterly cold.
Yeah. Freezing would have been fine with me.
Oh, no.
But over the
Not us
intensity of-
lizards. Us lizards
Right.
like the heat.
We also got to meet some of your community
Yep.
out
Yeah.
there, which was a lot of fun. We met a bunch of people at the art show and ended up spending chunks of time with
Mhm.
them off and on.
Mhm.
It's funny how, as I'm trying to remember everything we did, it's all running together. But I'm pretty sure the St. James Day was also the day that we went to that Mexican spot.
Gustavo's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we had some great food and some wonderful people watching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Watching Louisville's finest. Try and track down somebody. Like there was constant police movement.
Oh my
outside
gosh, yes, the
restaurant.
Crestwood drama. Yeah, we were there with my bestie, Laura, and her son and her husband Doug, who that family is actually who I named Tucker after.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're the Tuckers, and so my little Cavalier is named Tucker.
Yeah. And so we met them, spent some time with them,
Yep.
and
And then the next day was all drag.
Oh yes.
yeah, it
That
really
was
was.
so great.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us, Krista, where we started out?
We went to church on Sunday morning at a drag brunch in Lamoo.
We did. It was great. So we ended up going to this drag brunch.
What was the theme of that drag brunch?
So we didn't know what it was until we got there.
I know, and we
And-
walk in and we're like, why are all these girls
Yeah.
dressed up like showgirls?
Yeah, and they were all like, all the sparkles and the feathers and like everything. And then once we get in there and we started looking around, and we're like, wait, this is Taylor Swift themed.
Because there was like an older lady that had like the Life of a Showgirl t-shirt
Yeah.
on, and I was like, what's happening?
Yeah,
Like this
yeah.
is like there's not really a dress code at Lamoo, but I'm like,
Sure.
this is weird.
Well, yeah. Well, and there were like younger girls there.
Yes, yes.
like grade school.
There was a
And-
good mixture of people.
Yeah, which I love, which I think is
Mhm.
wonderful and great. But yeah, and they were dressed up, and we're like,
And they were
"Alright, yeah."
dancing, and they
It
were
was
so,
so
cute.
Yeah, but the queens were great. I mean, there
Mhm.
was what 4 or 5 of them.
I think 5.
I think
Yeah,
5. Yeah.
5. Yeah, 4 or 5. I'm blanking. It all runs together. And then there was that 95-year-old woman there.
Oh my gosh.
It was her.
That's
her
right.
Yeah, it was her birthday. Yeah.
Oh, it was so
She did a
cute.
shot with one of the
She
queens,
did.
and she ended up at some point getting a crown.
Yeah.
I was like, this
It was
is.
so great.
I'm like, if I live to 95,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing.
It was fantastic.
But that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was great. And we had food and a couple of
Mhm.
drinks and
Yeah, and then we
sang
left.
along.
Yeah, we left there, and gosh, what do we do? That was.
So that's when we went back, and then we walked to Carmichael's.
That's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then we went to the bourbon.
Oh, was
yeah,
that the bourbon tour?
that was that
Oh no,
same-
that's right. That's right. We went to the drag brunch,
Yeah.
and then we went and drove out to
yeah,
Barstown.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And we toured the Jim Beam facility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And gosh, that was fantastic. Like,
Mhm.
for starters, it's beautiful out there.
Uh-huh,
like,
it's
like
gorgeous.
it's just a beautiful place to be. The time because the weather is still so warm out there, everything
Mhm.
was still green and
Yeah.
lush. And man, so I've only done one other bourbon tour. I went to Angel's Envy a handful of years ago, and so this was only my second one. I am not at all well versed, and it was just fantastic.
You're more versed than me because this was my first one.
Right. And you were a Louisville born and
I
raised
know.
local. Like, come on now.
I know.
But yeah,
Don't shame me.
it's all right. There's still so much Dallas touristy stuff I've never done.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was so well done. I think that was the part that I was really struck by is they really put a tremendous amount of thought and effort into how to make sure people have a great experience.
Mhm.
And put put hair on their chest.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
So as you're going through the tour, you end up getting to do these little tastings, and it's
Yeah.
not even. I mean, they're doing tiny little pours.
Yeah.
It's maybe
Yeah, it's
a
barely anything.
half ounce, probably less.
yeah, it's very. It's
Just
Yeah.
enough to taste it. Like
Yeah.
that's about it.
You're not getting schnockered
No.
on the tour, but it was a lot of fun. And
until the end.
right, yeah.
Well.
But then there's a whole section of it where they're kind of walking you through all of the different brands that Jim Beam kind of distills, and it's quite a few. I mean, Basil Hayden, Knob Creek, Jim Beam, including all the varieties of Jim
Yeah.
Beam, like Jim
Mhm.
Beam Black, Jim Beam Honey, and all that. What am I forgetting? I feel like there's Booker's is a Jim Beam.
There's
one.
several. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of those small batch.
Yeah.
There's several offshoots.
And so, as you're going along, you're also getting to taste some of these sort of subcategories within Jim Beam's inventory. Well, we get to the Knob Creek one. So, for starters, we did something really cool. When you get to the Knob Creek part of the tour, you can actually have your own bottle poured
Mhm.
and labeled, and so you can get a customized bottle. And at the very end, you even have the opportunity to put an inscription on the glass of the bottle, and you can put your name on it, things like that.
And
It's-
your fingerprint.
yeah, your
Mhm.
fingerprint on the top. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because they do the what's that?
The wax
wax.
seal.
the wax seal,
Yeah, so
yeah.
you can put your fingerprint in the wax seal. It's so cool. It's very
Yeah,
well done. It's really
yeah.
enjoyable. And so we get to that part of it, and they're giving us some Knob Creek to taste. And I'm no stranger to the bourbon scene, and I've when I enjoy a beverage, I usually drink spirits. I'm not much of a beer guy anymore. I drink wine a little bit, but so spirits are kind of where I live. So it's hard to shock me. And we got to Knob Creek, and boy, we didn't know that what they had poured for us was 120 proof,
Oh yeah.
which is 50% stronger than a standard bourbon for those of you that aren't in that scene. And we tasted that, and we all just looked at each other. We're like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
it burns!
Yeah.
It burns so deeply." Like,
Respectfully, paint thinner.
yeah, it was not my
Like
jam.
I was like, like
Yeah.
sinuses cleared out, like the whole 9 yards.
It was intense.
It was.
But then we wrapped up that tour, and it was great. And then
What did we do for? I don't remember.
I don't remember. What we
I don't
did.
remember, but then we ended up going to play.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Then we went to play.
Yeah. So what is play?
One of my favorite bars.
Yeah.
So it is one of the few, unfortunately, gay bars in Louisville. We used to have quite a few. The bar scene in Louisville seems to be dwindling a little bit. I'm sure it's economy related, but yeah. So Play is one of the places that Josh and I enjoy going to when we do get to go back home and we have like a kid-free evening. And yeah, it's a gay bar and they do drag shows. Like I'm pretty sure it's every night, or it used to be every night at like 9 and 11. Yeah. And I found out that one of our favorite queens was performing on Sunday night, so we made it a point to head out there, and that was a blast.
And she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
She was.
Yeah, she sang some live stuff, which is not super common, and she was really wonderful.
Amazing. Amazing.
So yeah, we had a killer time out there. And that was Sunday night.
I didn't think that I liked Lady Gaga's new song. What's it called? Dead. Crap. Oh well. Whatever her new song was, though, I've had it stuck in my head since then.
Yeah. Well, and there was one performer there that played a song that, like, I'm sitting there listening to it. I was like, I have never heard this song before, and this freaking slaps. Like, I love this song. And so I looked it up while we were sitting there, and I've listened to it about 20 times since we got home because it's just such a fun tune.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we had an incredible time out there. Oh, the thing we didn't mention, we got to meet some other friends of yours. So Saturday night we enjoyed Merle's Whiskey, and then we went to a very cool bar that is
The
a
Last
former church.
Refuge.
Yeah, called The Last Refuge.
Mhm.
It was gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Can't recommend that place enough. And yeah, but make a reservation. We learned that the hard way. And so yeah, that was our Saturday night, and then Sunday was the drag brunch, and then the distillery tour, and then Play. We fit in some fun. Over those
Oh
several
yeah,
days.
yeah. We did a lot,
We did a lot.
Yeah.
and we didn't exhaust ourselves.
No, I felt like we were
No.
pretty well balanced. I will say, coming back from
The fair.
the fair,
Yeah.
we had just all been in the sun and the heat all day and all that.
Well, it was
Every last
post
one of us
travel
just
day.
crashed.
Yeah. There's always a point, no matter where I'm going, I get that little bit of jet lag anytime I fly. So it's kind of like my body's like, okay, let's catch up a little bit. So I think it all kind of hit us after we left the St. James Art Fair.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even Krista, I think Krista was asleep before I even had pajamas on. Like, I walked into our bedroom and I was like, oh, well, good night.
Yeah. Well, because I never, like, in going to doing these art shows, I'm always in the booth. I don't really get to walk around. You know, I don't get to like have a big break where I can go see everything. And this was a big everything to go see, you know? And so it was great. It was fun. And I enjoyed the trip. I mean, in its entirety. Like, I think it was just.
If anyone out there can pull
great.
some strings for us next year to get Krista into St. James, we would highly, highly appreciate it.
And if you need Louisville recommendations, Pamela's only an email away. She basically planned that entire weekend for us. And there's big chunks of things I'm even leaving out. We went to your old neighborhood. We met some of your other friends who still live out there. I mean, it was a blast. We met so many people, ate so much good food, drank plenty of bourbon, and just really enjoyed a lot of what Louisville has to offer. We drove past Churchill Downs. But there's nothing really happening there at the time. But we did go past it, which it's impressive all by itself for anyone that keeps up with the Derby and stuff like that.
Yeah, we tried to see Waverly, but
oh, that's right. We did try and see Waverly. So for the uninitiated, Waverly is one of the most haunted places in North America. It's in Louisville, and
used to be a TB hospital.
Yeah. And we tried to go and check it out because we're gluttons for punishment, but it was closed that specific day, which was a bummer. But we caught a little glimpse of it from the street. But anyway, it was a great weekend. We had a blast. And hopefully next time we're there, it's because you are in the St. James Art Show.
Great.
Yeah, which would be really awesome. So where can the people find more of your work?
So I'm not in any exhibits right now. I have all of my work currently. But KristaMillerArt.com is basically my online gallery. And information on commissioned work and my bio and just that whole thing. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, which is also Krista Miller Art. And I'm also on the Stacci website, which, for those of you who don't know, is a large artistic community where you can buy work from artists all over the world, basically. And I just became a part of that, so I'm there. That's really it. Yeah.
What do you like? Are you working on anything now? Do you have anything coming up?
Yeah. So I, my current collection, I have everything, and it's still in rotation for things that I apply for and all of that, but it is all available for purchase. But, I actually just figured out where I want my next collection to go. And it's actually going to center around my great grandmother. And things that were important to her, which were also important to me. But yeah, I'm kind of fleshing out still what I want some of it to look like. But I think a lot of it is going to kind of hit home a little bit.
Yeah.
Just for me, just because we were very close.
Yeah.
But I plan on incorporating a bunch of different materials into this next collection, which I'm excited about. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really pretty. But yeah, I have some ideas. So,
Yay.
but I don't want to
Awesome.
give
Looking forward
everything
to that.
away.
Yeah. Well, that's it for Premeditated Opinions, where the thoughts were fully baked and only mildly regrettable. If you enjoyed today's episode, congrats on having truly excellent taste in podcasts and opinions. Following us on YouTube and Instagram is a quick and easy way to support us. So if you liked literally anything about today's episode, please like and subscribe.
Also, send this to someone who needs to feel seen, dragged, or both. We'll be back next week with more unsolicited insight and emotionally responsible spiraling. And until then, please stay hydrated and behave yourself in the comments. But if you don't, at least make us laugh.